I gotta be real with you guys. This trend is probably one of the worst and most concerning things going on in gaming right now. Since the 8th generation of consoles, people have been slowly but steadily moving toward preferring digital games over their physical counterparts. And I kinda do get them on some points. After all, digital games don't take up space in your crib and you can play them immediately after buying them. In addition to that, you don't even need to manually swap the disc in your console to play another game, which is a big plus for all the couch potatoes in the audience. Digital games are, all in all, just way more convenient to use compared to their physical counterparts. So what's the issue with people gradually moving away from physical games and buying digital games then? Well, ever since that one global event happened back in 2020, which I can't mention here because YouTube will send me and this video to the Shadow Realm, the gradual move has become more of a rapid descent towards most people only buying digital copies of games. We are at a point where an all-digital future where physical games are a thing of the past might actually become a reality in the very near future. Like, it is insane that the thought of the PS6 not even supporting discs is not even that outlandish anymore. This will mean that the downsides of digital media will become inescapable for everyone. The worst among them being the end of game ownership and the lack of control over your purchased goods. At that point, the big gaming companies like PlayStation, Nintendo, and even Valve will have absolute control over everything. I mean, we can see them doing too much already, with Sony's new dynamic pricing system as an example, where you're going to get screwed over every time there's a sale going on. In the end, they have all the power, because after all, you don't actually own your digital games. They do. Let's get into why the end of physical games will be the end of game ownership and gaming as we know it. At this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, what is this dude yapping about me not owning my digital games? I bought these games with my hard-earned cash, what is bro on about? And yeah, that's a fair reaction to have, after what I just said. Well, it would be, if you actually ever bought the games in the first place, but that doesn't happen when you buy a digital game copy. Let me explain. Purchasing a digital game copy is fundamentally not the same as buying a physical game copy. With a physical game copy, you can do whatever you want with it. Play it, sell it, lend it to a friend, heck, you could even break it for all you care. Because that game copy is actually your property at that point. Companies like Sony or Nintendo can't take their copy away from you, ever. Buying a digital game, on the other hand, is nothing more than buying a license to access the game. The license allows you to play the game, and that's about it. You can't sell it because it's linked to your account, nor can you borrow it to someone. And yeah, I know not everyone lends their games to their friends. Especially if you had that one friend who had his discs look like these. Yeah, not even the old dish soap trick can save these, brother man. Just give up at this point. You've probably already experienced a situation where your lack of ownership over your digital games has made itself visible. The good old cloud server outages that happen almost yearly to the big platform holders. When PlayStation servers, for example, go offline because they have server problems, a lot of players report that they lose access to their purchased digital games. That is because their license can't be verified during the server outage, and as a consequence prevents them from accessing their games. This doesn't happen to everyone that buys digital games during outages, but it does happen to a ton of gamers where the servers go offline. Heck, they spawn articles every time this happens. The same regularly happens to other big platform holders like Nintendo as well, so don't go thinking you're safe just because you're on another platform. Something else you guys need to keep in mind with digital games is that these digital licenses are revocable. If you ever found yourself in a situation where your account for whatever reason gets banned, brother, you can kiss your digital games goodbye as well. In that case, you wouldn't even get a refund or nothing. They will just Thanos snap all your games along with your account out of existence. Most of you guys are probably thinking to yourself now, well, I don't break any rules, so this don't even apply to me, big dog. Well, unfortunately, that isn't the only way you can lose access to your account. The most common way is probably getting your account stolen by a hacker or something like that. I mean, most people use the same password for most of their accounts anyways nowadays, which you shouldn't be doing, by the way. And we can't act like the data security of these giant companies is... People try to hack their shit on a daily basis, and breaches unfortunately do happen. And if your account gets stolen, there go all your games with it. Your only hope at that point is the support hotline. And boy, these guys are definitely most well known for their enthusiasm and drive to help people. Yeah, sure. You could probably make the argument that this wouldn't even be an issue if game companies had better customer support. But Twin, you know damn well that GTA 7 will release before that ever happens. I ain't trying to convince y'all that digital games are horrible, but they do have their fair share of drawbacks, and with the control that the platform holders have over their digital games, they will do whatever they want. One of the newest ways platform holders are abusing their power is Sony's brand new dynamic pricing system that is being tested right now in select regions. While dynamic pricing isn't a completely new feature in gaming, since personalized game-specific sales have been a thing in some storefronts for a while now, Sony took a look at that and thought to themselves, damn, this is a neat feature to get people to buy more games. Let's screw them over instead! Like, I'm not even exaggerating. If they are going to implement the version of dynamic pricing they are currently beta testing, you will actually get worse game sales if you frequently buy games. Yeah, I'm being dead ass right now. Sony's new dynamic pricing system is so fucked that they're actively penalizing the people that actively put money in their bank account. Like, what the fuck? The way the system currently works is that if you, for example, bought all the Souls games, minus Elden Ring, and that game goes on sale in their store, a person that almost never buys games from the PlayStation Store will automatically see a lower price than you. And I'm not even talking about some $2 or $3 difference. I'm talking about a difference of $5 to $10 here. All simply because in their eyes, you're a sucker who buys games from us anyways. So why give you a good sale on it? Like, nigga, do they think we're stupid or something? This was bound to be found out by the community, and this shit looks bad from all angles. Like, why on God's green earth would you punish someone for being a loyal customer? Sony out here inventing a reverse loyalty system where the more loyal you are, the worse your benefits are gonna be. I'm crying. And who can stop them? You can't buy a digital game for PlayStation anywhere other than their store, which they have complete control over. Anything they say goes over there, because they have no competition on their storefront. The only way you could escape that is buying games physically, because that's the only place where you get competition for game prices. They can do whatever they want in the digital realm, which is especially bad for games that are only available digitally. Remember PT? PT was a horror game demo Kojima developed for the PS4. It was supposed to be a sneak peek for the new Silent Hills game Hideo Kojima was working on, before he had that horrible breakup with Konami. After all that went down between those two parties and they parted ways, Konami requested for Sony to take the demo off their store and remove every trace of it. And Sony complied. Sony then removed the game from the store and people's game libraries. Yeah, they actually removed the game from your account without your consent, because they don't need that. If a user that installed the game demo were to delete the game off their PlayStation, they could never install it again. You can't even move the demo to a PS5 from the PS4 it is saved on if you ever wanted to upgrade your system. That thing is stuck on the system forever. PT has essentially become lost media and an example of what platform holders can do to a game that is only available digitally. If PT was ever printed on a demo disc or an Easter egg available on another game on the physical disc, it would still be playable to this day. Most people actually don't understand how physical games work. There's a very common and uninformed sentiment around them that has spread to a dangerous degree. That being, there's actually nothing on the disc and that the game is being downloaded from the internet after the disc is inserted into the console. Which is why physical games are worthless nowadays. This couldn't be further from the truth, as most games are completely playable from the build that exists on the disc. The vast majority of PlayStation and Switch games have a feature-complete 1.0 build on the disc or card that can be played from start to end without having to connect to the internet even once. There's actually a website that tracks all of this called doesitplay.org. They have tested thousands of games and counting to check if they have a complete build on the disc, and the vast majority of them are feature complete. Some of you probably might be thinking, well, when I put a disc in the console it says that it's downloading the game. It obviously has to connect to the internet to do that, right? Well, this is where the platform holders are at fault, because they don't explain very well what's actually going on. the games are installing the data written on the disc on the hard drive of the PlayStation. Games are so big nowadays that they can't be played off the disc anymore, like back in the PS2 days. Games are installed on the hard drive of a console and played from there. And like previously mentioned, all this is possible with most games without having to connect to the internet, since a playable version is already on the disc. The most common rebuttal to this point is that games nowadays require day one patches and are broken without them. My answer to that is, damn nigga, I wasn't done yet. Stand back and let a brother cook some more, alright? While day one patches are the norm nowadays, there are barely any games out there that require them to function. You ain't gonna get a game that is as bad as the launch Cyberpunk experience, even without the day one patch anytime soon. I can tell you that much. Even though most games are playable from the disc or card, there are still games coming out that are incomplete on disc for no good reason. Some games don't get finished early enough in the development cycle to print a gold master on disc, which is fair I guess. But some games are incomplete just because. The most recent high profile example, Crimson Desert. That game was made with a mandatory one-time server login on the first startup, which means that anyone who buys the disc of the game has to go online at least once to be able to play the game at all. Which is just BS. Why limit your game because you didn't want anyone to play your game a day or two before launch? Like, what the hell? All this is far from the norm though, like I previously mentioned. However, there is a new player in the push for fake physical games. The face of fake physical games nowadays is, believe it or not, Nintendo. They have developed a new type of game card that has essentially made sure that most games coming to Switch 2 will have fake physical versions. The game keycard, as they call it. It is, to put it in simpler terms, a physical game with nothing but a license key on it. When putting one of these bad boys in your Switch, it will download the entire game off Nintendo servers. Which means that without internet, or if anything is up with Nintendo servers, you can't do jack shit with these wastes of space. This piece of trash has essentially all the downsides of physical games and all the downsides of digital games, which makes it cheap garbage. But that is the cheapest way to make a Switch card, which is why most studios developing or porting games to the Switch will use the keycard instead of the normal game card with the full game on disc. While I've been shitting on digital games this entire video, please don't misunderstand me. Digital games are a good option to have, even if they have their drawbacks. They are incredibly convenient, but they shouldn't be the only option we have to purchase games. But this is what the entire video was about: options. With the way the industry is moving right now, physical games will soon be a thing of the past, and that shouldn't be the case. This is a bad outcome for every gamer, be it a complete digital guy or a physical guy like me. Having options is always a good thing, because if you have no options, you can't make a choice, and the platform holders will exploit that to the utmost degree. There's this weird sentiment that some digital-only gamers have. They actively cheer on the death of physical games, not knowing that the digital-only future only benefits the big corporations at the end. A word of advice: even if all my points didn't resonate with you, if you want to save a few bucks and don't always buy games at launch, try a physical game for a change. They drop in price far earlier than their digital counterparts. This is also the case for very old games, like GTA 5 for example. The price discrepancy will probably shock you if you take a look. Anyways guys, this was the Teo, and physical games forever. Signing out.